Hey, what's up you guys? Couch Classics here. Just wanted to do the first of my Japan videos. This one is about looking for video games in Japan and the differences that I've come across from back in the States. Now to start off, the main difference is the lack of garage sales. My most successful purchases have been at garage sales, but pretty much they just simply don't have them here. I've talked to a few people that have been living here for a while, and I guess I thought maybe it was just like a city ordinance kind of thing, but it's probably just a cultural thing. I don't know, just hawking your garbage in front of your house really isn't that popular here. So pretty much people just take everything to a garage or a garage sale store or a thrift store pretty much. At least where I'm at here in Sendai, I just haven't seen that kind of stuff. So they just take all their garbage to a thrift store. I think because of this, there's chains, almost like a Goodwill or something like that. But there's a lot of chains of these secondhand stores all over the place. I guess the main thing that I've come up with this is that you can't really bargain hunt for older games because of this, because all these stores are interconnected, with their branches, and I guess they've probably got like standardized pricing across the board, and so all the stuff that I found is basically retail plus. Um, it is easy enough to find out. I mean, if you go to any of these places, they're kind of like a magnet for multimedia kind of equipment. Anything with games, videos, CDs. It just seems like this is the place you take it. So if you want to look for that kind of thing, you can go to these big places, and that's where it's at. So I guess that makes it convenient, but bargain hunting is basically non-existent. Now, I mean, this is just what I found. I imagine that you can bargain hunt, but I don't really speak a whole lot of Japanese, and I don't know my way around. This is just from one city in a small place. So I mean, um, you know, I only have so much I can say about it, but it just is not something that I found. Um, one saving grace though is that there isn't a video game crisis like there is back home. I say video game crisis because it seems like, I don't know, maybe everyone's getting fed up with the new gen, and everyone's trying to pick up the old stuff. Maybe because there's just a huge nostalgia factor, or what. But because of this, there isn't like bogus price assumptions on games, just because of the title, like because it's a Mario or Final Fantasy or Zelda. It's not just priced ridiculously high just because it says that in the title. Things seem to be priced fairly. Um, Even stuff on like Super Famicom. So all the Super Famicom Zeldas and all the Final Fantasy games. I haven't found any of them that were more than like $12 to $15, which, I mean, I've found that stuff for that cheap back in the States. But if you're looking online or in a lot of stores, I mean, you're looking 30, 40, $50 for some of that kind of stuff, and just because of what it is. And here it's not really an issue. So I mean, if those are the kind of things you're looking for in Japanese, then you could save money with that kind of stuff. Um, uh, Also, on that note, mini games, just because of the system in America, are overpriced, regardless of the quality of the games. Um, the main example that I can think of is with just the Nintendo games. Everything with Nintendo, everyone is popular, so you spending a lot of money on Nintendo games. Whereas low-end Famicom games, I found you can still find them for less than 100 yen or less than $1. And um, you know, the other end of the spectrum with that is that of course, there's plenty of games that are glass case kinds of games, and you can spend a ridiculous amount of money on stuff. But the stuff that should be priced low is priced low, and the stuff that's worth it, is priced what it's valued. So there's no surprises there. Uh, let's see. I have found quite a bit of Super Famicom and Nintendo 64 stuff, and a pretty decent amount of Famicom games. if that's what you're looking for. Also, handheld titles. There's a lot of, from Game Gear and Game Boy and Game Boy Color and all that kind of stuff. You can find quite a bit of that. So that's pretty awesome, handheld titles. But I've had a really, really hard time looking for PC Engine stuff, which before I came here, that was the number one thing I really wanted to find, just because they had so many more titles here in Japan and a lot better marketing scheme for PC Engine or TurboGrafx games. But I just haven't had any luck where I'm at. I don't know if this is just this city just never had that big of a deal, or I just am not competent enough to find them. Also, another thing is Mega Drive games. I haven't found any of those. I haven't seen one. But on the bright side, a little bit newer, if you're looking for PlayStation 1 games, I have been very surprised with the care and the number of PlayStation 1 games that I've found. I've just seen shelf after shelf of PlayStation 1 games in really great condition, unlike the poor state that you often find PlayStation 1 games in America. You can find like a loose disc here, or a stack of, sports games with cracked jewel cases, and sometimes you find a little bit, sometimes you find good stuff, at least where we're from. I mean, it's just not really any good. But here it's great. They've got shelves after shelf of them, and it's a blast, because I'm just not used to seeing that kind of stuff since, PlayStation 1 came out. You just don't see it anymore. PlayStation 2 games are really numerous also, although, I mean, they've been kept in pretty good condition, a lot better than PlayStation 1 back in the States. So I think it's comparable with where you can buy pawn shops or things like that. They have shelves of PlayStation 2 games. They've got a lot of them here, and good quality. But like where it really shines is the market is just filled with games from Nintendo DS onward, which I think it's not really a big surprise, but handheld stuff is king here in Japan. Obviously I hang out with a lot of kids. I teach here in Japan. I talk to a lot of kids mostly about games, but also with adults, just seeing as I've traveled around, and people either play like 3DS, or they have a Wii U, or they play on, almost everybody I see, playing on mobile devices. But and that could have been what has contributed to me being able to find quite a bit of cartridge-based stuff in the stores. But I think a huge percentage of it is probably being sold online in auction websites. I mean, it's a good outlet, and people have been importing stuff for a long time. It seems like the easier way to get rid of it. I don't know. I'm not, again, I can't speak definitively, but some of the older generation people I've talked to about games, they had some of that stuff. They had a Mega Drive, or they had a PC Engine growing up, and it's just not something that they really think about too much. I think people just kind of stick with the times, and they're not really looking back at the other stuff too much. But, like I said, I could be completely wrong. I don't know. So I want to talk for a little bit about, what are these major stores that I've been able to find. I'm in Sendai, and there's over 1 million people here, and there's a lot of these chain stores, but the main ones of these chains that I've found are Book Off, which they've got a lot of media stuff, but primarily books, but they've got all sorts of stuff. The best one that I've found is Hard Off. It's got like multiple names. I guess it's basically a big secondhand pawn shop. Hard Off, Garage Off, House Off. I forget what else they call it. Thrift Off or something like that. Off. I don't know what. Whenever you see off in something, it's probably a thrift store here. And then there's another one called Second Street. They've got some older stuff, household stuff, and old electronic stuff. Tsukasa is a good place to look for a little bit newer stuff. I haven't found any older stuff in Tsukasa, but it's a really good multimedia store. and there's a chain called Geo, Geo, pronounced Geo here. They've got some older stuff, but as far as quantity, I haven't seen anything a whole lot before PlayStation 1. It just must be something that they're not really into. The one store that I've gone to that was almost completely a game store is called Seagull, and it was mostly video games, and it was from all generations. And the other part of the store was game collecting, or not game collecting, card collecting, playing card games and shelves of that kind of stuff. But I mean, this store was awesome though. It's kind of how I pictured video game stores should be in Japan. Everything was priced, I don't know. I guess I couldn't say everything was priced. I mean, everything was priced how it should have been, which I wish it was cheaper. But they had quite a few systems there, and it was cool to see some of the stuff I hadn't seen anywhere else. Found a few games that I had been looking for there. They also had TurboGrafx stuff there that's the only place I've been able to find. They had like 3 or 4 PC Engine games there, which I wasn't able to find anywhere else. So that was awesome. The systems that I found, it's including there, they were priced better than online. But in my situation, where I'm living here, mailing them back home would just completely destroy the cost benefit of buying them locally here, rather than buying them online from America. My favorite store here, Hard Off, though you can find in the back, they've got like milk crates and old controllers and wires and cartridge, Famicom stuff just stuffed in everywhere. But they've also got quite a few older systems there that are not in boxes, and I'm assuming they're untested. I don't know. I can't read any of the signs, but they've got like a couple stacks of like Super Famicoms back there that are turning a little yellow, but I don't know. They probably work because it's a Super Nintendo and they're awesome. But there's like $5-10 back there without any connections or controllers. So I mean, it's not out of control. You can find that kind of stuff there. Just my main advice for game hunting, if you're here to game hunt, or if you want to game hunt while you're here on vacation, or if you're visiting, probably be best to bring a empty suitcase. That way you don't have to worry about the shipping cost kind of stuff that I'm constantly thinking about every time I pick something. It's like, what am I going to toss out that I brought here to Japan that I can live without because I want to bring home this. Unfortunately, I found a really rad Super Famicom with controllers and connections in a hard Super Famicom plastic case, and now I gotta probably leave out my underwear or something like that when I come home, but I just had to have it. But I would bring the luggage space to where you can just come and buy what you want, bring a list and get Japanese exclusives or whatever, and then you can bring it home. But you don't come with a frugal budget, I guess I would say. Make sure you got the money to come and get the things on your list, because you're probably not going to find a whole ton of deals. Like I said, if you're coming for Marios and Final Fantasies and Zeldas and things like that, you'll probably spend a lot less money than you would on the States for those titles. But, I don't know why you would come here to buy those kind of things, especially if you don't read Japanese, unless you just want to collect them just because. But, ideally you would come for region specifics and go from there. But, as difficult as it is, you might as well just buy stuff online and get the same product without having to worry about public transportation and language barriers and things like that. I just happen to be working here, and I'm not going to be here and not try and find video games. So that's just the situation I'm in, and this is just what I've faced. So aside from the video game stuff, there's also like consoles and games. There's also arcade. There's lots of arcades. Everyone knows that Japan's got tons of awesome arcades. It seems like every mall has like an arcade coin-op area that's like half of a whole floor. And there's a huge variety of different things that you can blow your money on there. Some of the coolest machines that I've seen are ones where they've just got popular anime characters or different pop culture memorabilia, and you can, play little games and maybe get, it looks like really high quality action figures, and the statuettes, and or pillows and blankets and different things with your favorite characters on them. So there's lots of that stuff. Really cool. There's also, like, I've seen a lot of different photo booths that you can, the big fancy expensive looking ones where you can wear costumes and go in there and dress up as like a or whatever you want to dress up. They've got a bunch of costumes, Japan kind of stuff. And then there's like capsule machines. The machines here, they're called gotcha machines. Like, gotcha, because we tricked you into spending a ton of money on these machines. But they're just capsules filled with collectible toys and things like that. And they're basically everywhere. You can find gotcha machines almost everywhere. And they cost like 100 yen to like 400 yen. And they just are filled with all that kind of stuff. And there's like, usually there's racks of like 24 of these machines or more, and they're stacked on top of each other, and it's like a gumball machine. You just put in the money and twist it, and you get a capsule with a toy, and random chance, and try and collect them all. These are unfortunately like the favorite attraction for my son, and to my great shame, I've spent an inordinate amount of money on them whilst living here. But that's just the way it goes. They're a lot of fun. There's tons of different characters, and some of the stuff is just like garbage tattoos and little cheap plastic bugs. But some of it's I think highly collectible stuff if you wanted to get into it. I don't know all the different, and I think it'd be even more exciting if I knew all the different current Japanese shows and characters and everything like that. Because I think most of it probably has a purpose, but then there's other things like bugs, and bug collecting in Japan is pretty popular, especially with beetles. So you can get like plastimold collectible bugs and things like that. So, speaking of collectibles, one of the last things I want to talk about that I think is pretty noteworthy is that if you collect minifigures or statues, there's like, you can get, a buddy of mine collects like, the anime girls in skimpy clothing and video game characters and all that kind of stuff like that. I mean, you'd lose your mind here if you're into that kind of stuff, because you can go into any of these hypermedia stores or secondhand stores, and they've just got shelves and shelves of them, used ones, new ones, boxed ones, every different kind of thing that you can think of. I don't collect those. I don't really know anything about them, but I mean, they got some in glass cases, so I'm sure people would lose it over here about that kind of stuff. My greatest temptation is wanting to buy, there's a big camera shop by the train station. It's like a multi-level superstore, and one of the floors is all toys and collectibles and everything like that. And they've got like these multiple $100, like 3-foot mobile suit Gundam model kits, that kind of stuff. I mean, that looks super awesome. That'd be cool to have sitting on the shelf, but unfortunately my wallet and my luggage probably would not be happy. I'd have to get rid of all the rest of my clothes to store the box just for that, on top of my Super Famicom. But one day I guess I'll just have to buy one and bite the bullet on it. But anyways, sorry, I'm like freezing to death. I'm in a tatami room outside of my kerosene heated living room because it's late. I'm trying not to wake up my family, so I'm like shivering as I'm trying to talk to you guys. By the way, there's not really insulation in Japan, so if you're not in one of the rooms you're specifically heating, then you did. So anyways, that's just a little bit of information on the subject. I hope it was mildly interesting for you guys, and if you are interested in more information on that, I can try and do my best to answer you guys. If you just leave a comment, I'll keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. And look for more videos from the Couch Classics and follow-up videos on this Japan series. I'm going to do at least 4 or 5 more on different subjects. Please, if you enjoyed, support us. We're just a blossoming channel, but we've got tons and tons of plans for content. Like and subscribe, do all that kind of nonsense. It's just going to get better and better. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you had fun. I know that we are, and thanks again. Bye.